So this story took place right after I got out of the Army. It would have been late 2001, early 2002 that it started to happen. I was living in a townhouse with my mom and my sister in Pittsburgh. Um, my little sister lived in the basement. It was the awesome game room where everything was, and we spent most of our time down there. I wasn't back in college yet, so I had a lot of time to kill. So what me and my friends would do is we would go find all of these supposedly haunted places in the Pittsburgh area, and we'd go investigate them and do our little ghost hunting deal. So we went out and we found some creepy places, some sort of dark and shady stuff, but we didn't find any ghosts, nothing that we thought there's definitively something haunted there, just this is a really creepy town or this is a really creepy hospital, that sort of thing. My little sister always wanted to go with us, but inevitably she couldn't because she had school and we would be out at like 2 or 3 in the morning and it just wasn't conducive. So she decided to do it on her own one day. So her and some friends got a Ouija board and they went out to this place called Resurrection Cemetery. And they were looking for something specific, and it's called Damien's Grave. And it's a tombstone of this old cultist, and it's like a black onyx upside down cross. And there's an epitaph on it that says, "This isn't goodbye, it's just so long, I'll see you soon." So a lot of people went there and they would say that you could hear things moving around the cemetery, that sort of stuff. So they went out with a Ouija board. They had their fun. My little sister insists that she saw, something moving in the wood line, but who knows, I wasn't there. The important part is that shortly after she got back from that, really weird things started to happen in the basement. The first thing we noticed was every now and then, out of nowhere, would be a really strong smell of cigarette smoke. Like someone was smoking it right next to you and almost blowing it in your face. It was really weird. None of us smoked. We figured maybe it was the lady next door, and we just sort of chalked it up to whatever. As time went on, more things started happening. Objects wouldn't be where you left them. You'd hear noises. The blinds would rustle, and the skeptic in me, even though I dig the ghost thing, I'm still a bit of a skeptic. Maybe it's the vents. It could be any even number of things. Eventually, we asked the lady next door if she was smoking. She's like, "Oh, I haven't smoked for years," etc. So we could never quite pinpoint, where the smoke was coming from. The first thing that really weirded me out was I had a snow globe down there that my buddy had knocked over and shattered. And I glued it back together and I kept it above my TV. And I came down one day and I found the snow globe on the bed, but it had been disassembled, like back to the fractured pieces, and it was just sort of laid out on the bed. That was just bizarre. So I asked my sister, I was like, "I don't want to accuse you of just being strange, but did you break my snow globe again and lay it out methodically on the bed?" She was like, "No, of course I didn't." It's like, huh, that's kind of peculiar. And the things kept happening, and my little sister was sleeping down there one night, and she swears to this day still that she felt the bed violently shaking, and she heard someone whisper in her ears, "Wake up, Courtney, wake up, Courtney, wake up." And when she woke up, there was no one there. And she panicked. She was really scared. She refused to sleep in the basement anymore, which was fine with me because that's where I wanted to be anyways, because it's where all the video games and my comic books and stuff were. So her and I traded rooms. For a while, everything was okay, but again, there was the smoke smell that would just sort of come and go. And eventually, we recognized a pattern, which was that every time you would smell the smoke, something weird would happen shortly afterwards. So you would smell the smoke, and then a couple seconds later, the blinds would move, or you would smell the smoke and something would roll off the table. Our cat started acting really weird down there. He would just sort of stare into the corner, as cats do. But then over time, he got to be aggressive. He would hiss at things that weren't there. The hair would stand up on the back of his neck. And eventually, he stopped going down there for the most part when people weren't there. We came home one day. We'd been out for a while, and we saw the cat just lying motionless at the top of the stairs. And usually, he was a bit of a jerk. So he was usually into some sort of mischief. And I went up and I poked him in the stomach, and usually that's enough to get him to the kangaroo kick you and hurt you. And he'd just sit there and took it. We're like, "Oh man, the cat's really sick." So we took him to the vet, and the vet said, he's got something's going wrong. He's just not urinating. His bladder's full. It's distended. There's no blockage. He's just not urinating. And the issue was his cat box was down in the basement, and he refused to go down there without someone else there. So when we'd been gone for a prolonged period of time, he just held it. So good on him rather than pee on the carpet. But the cat was absolutely freaked out by the basement. I was down there one night, and I smelled the smoke while I was lying asleep. And the smoke smell woke me up. And there was something weird in the air. It was kind of creepy. And so I looked around for a minute, and I didn't see anything, so I went back to bed. And then I smelled the smoke again, and I felt Tiger, the cat, jump up onto the foot of my bed. And I didn't think anything of it, but he started moving up the bed, you know, closer to my legs, getting up to my knee, and it felt different. It felt heavier and more jarring. And so I got up and looked, and Tiger was actually sitting next to me on my pillow, looking down at the foot of the bed and hissing. And I was like, oh my. And then the smoke hit me a third time, a really strong, acrid sense, and Tiger took off up the stairs. I didn't quite know what to do. I was like, well, what could possibly happen? And the whole bed just shook, ba, 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 ba. And that was it. I took off out of there immediately after that smell of the smoke. The rest of my family, we didn't go down there much often, even though it was still my bedroom where I would sleep. I was going back to college soon. I would end up crashing on the couch, or I would stay with my buddies, or just stay up until my sister went to school and then sleep in her room. When we had to move the cat's litter box out of there, after that night, he wouldn't go back down there no matter how many people were there. And yeah, we eventually moved out of that house. Conveniently, our lease was up, but my mother's enough of a worrywart. She probably would have moved anyway. Just there's some sort of smoking demon in the basement that she didn't want to deal with. So that was the creepy house in Pittsburgh, the first one.